At 5:58 in the morning, I found myself standing on my curb barefoot, clutching a chipped mug that said "Quiet Life," watching a yellow excavator blink its hazard lights like some over-caffeinated dragon. And let me tell you, nobody with a mug that says "Quiet Life" deserves to see their staircase turned into yard mulch before sunrise. 4 minutes later, my shower was open to the breeze and my bedroom wall folded like a bad poker hand. All because the HOA president from the next neighborhood over, Marley Yates, decided today was Compliance Day, complete with a sash like she was running for prom queen of lost causes. She marched up and announced in her best courtroom voice that two-story structures are prohibited in our covenant and demolition has been approved. And the cop next to her, who looked about one coffee short of his daily minimum, leaned in and muttered that this wasn't even her HOA's street. I remember thinking, maybe I'm still dreaming. Maybe if I pinch myself, my house will be standing, my garden untouched, and my front yard not full of orange cones and people with clipboards. But the crunch of my bedroom wall told me I was wide awake. Anyway, I'm Marcus Ellery, and I chose Pine Hollow for 3 very specific reasons. Lots of trees, decent pizza, and most importantly, no HOA. I spent 3 months reading every covenant, checking every map, making sure the words Homeowners Association never came within 100 yards of my deed. I work from home as a software consultant, which means peace and predictability are as sacred as my right to paint my door neon blue just because I feel like it. But 1 block over, there's Birch Ridge HOA Central, home of the aesthetic coordinator herself, Marley. She enunciates like she gets paid per syllable, wears a visor shaped like a court order, and carries a binder so thick it could double as body armor. The first time she showed up, it was 3 weeks after I moved in. She came to my door binder at the ready and introduced herself as Community Aesthetic Coordinator. I told her nicely that I wasn't in her community. She gave me a smile that said, "You'll regret this," and replied, "Technically, we're all one neighborhood family." I shut the door and figured that was that. Yeah, right. Next thing I know, Marley's leaving flyers on my door about community uniformity and architectural harmony, complete with photoshopped images of my house and big red circles around my second story. She sent me friendly notices on letterhead featuring eagles and laurel wreaths as if I was supposed to salute and comply. I started a folder, Evidence of Insanity. My favorite flyer had my house circled in red and the word problematic in a font so big my neighbor could read it from his porch. She escalated. Started mailing me letters citing my vertical exuberance and aggressive second floor. Each one had a compliance deadline, a reference number, and I kid you not, a little gold seal. I framed one and hung it in my bathroom just for laughs. My security camera caught her measuring my roofline with a laser pointer clipboard in hand, crouched like a nature photographer stalking a rare duplex. Once she brought 3 women in matching sun hats to conduct a focus group. Their verdict, delivered by solemn nods, was apparently grave. She even started a petition annexation of orphan properties claiming Birch Ridge should absorb houses like mine for aesthetic harmony. 47 signatures, though 12 were just the name Patricia written in different handwriting. The next week, I found a glossy brochure, The Benefits of Voluntary Compliance, with stock photos of people shaking hands and a testimonial from a man I swear is also in a dental commercial. When I kept ignoring her, Marley taped a red tag on my door, ordered to abate non-compliant 2-story. The tag had a QR code linking to a Facebook poll. Should Marcus's property be grandfathered in or corrected immediately? My house was the cover photo. I sent all this to my attorney, who laughed so hard he dropped his phone. I emailed Marley parcel map title, big red arrow pointing to the words, "Not in your HOA." She replied with 2 words that spiked my blood pressure: geography's fluid. I stared at that email a long time, like maybe if I looked hard enough it would turn into a real argument. I sent her a link to the county assessor, reminded her that last I checked, property lines aren't up for debate. She hit back with a PDF titled Legal Precedent for Community Expansion, which turned out to be a screenshot from Wikipedia about eminent domain. Then came the community visioning workshop. Marley set up a projector at the park and showed before and after pictures of my house. In the after photo, the second floor was gone. The crowd applauded. I found out later she mentioned my address 9 times in her speech. I wasn't even invited. Then Thursday before dawn, Marley rolled up with a demolition crew and a printed city abatement writ using the papyrus font, which should be illegal by itself. The foreman, who looked like he'd seen too much already, told me they got a work order to remove the second story. Marley waved around a board vote video filmed on someone's patio where 3 people in tennis whites toasted with mimosas. My doorbell camera caught her cutting the lock on my side gate, unrolling caution tape and taking a selfie with the excavator humming like she was christening a new cruise ship. She posted it online. Progress happens. The bucket hit my roof at 6:12 a.m., and the sound was something between a bear fight and a train wreck. I called 911, the city, and my insurance. The dispatcher actually asked me to repeat myself twice. Apparently, someone's demolishing my house isn't a common call. 2 police cruisers and a city inspector showed up in time to see the excavator nibbling my guest room. My neighbor in his bathrobe filmed the whole thing. Another neighbor brought me shoes. The inspector took one look at Marley's order, winced at the font, and radioed in a stop work. The cop told the crew to idle the equipment. Marley started shouting about her authority under the community charter. The cop asked, "What community?" Marley said, "Birch Ridge." He pointed at the street sign. "You know this is Pine Hollow, right?" She just blinked. "Geography's fluid," she repeated. "I think even the birds stopped to stare." The county recorder on speakerphone confirmed my lot, my permits, my inspections, no HOA restrictions. My taxes went to the county. The inspector pulled up the records right there on my lawn, showed them to Marley, who squinted and muttered, "There must be a mistake." Then the contractor's board rep showed up suit that cost more than my car and took one look at the work order and went white as a sheet. The signature was a forgery done in blue gel pen. Mine looks like a seismograph. This one looked like a kid practicing cursive. He asked who authorized the job. Marley said she did. He asked on what authority. "President of Birch Ridge," she replied. "Is Marcus in Birch Ridge?" he asked. Dead silence. Fraud detectives were looped in before lunch. 2 showed up in an unmarked sedan taking statements, while I pulled up every one of Marley's emails, annexation threats, and the demolition invoice which she'd charged to the HOA Reserve Fund for $18,000 carbon copied to their treasurer subject line community beautification. The treasurer, Gerald, showed up in golf cleats, claimed, "No clue," said Marley, handled all the vendor contracts herself. The foreman, now sweating bullets, handed over his phone. The job request came from an email with an attached city approval PDF. It had a watermark Birch Ridge Canva free trial. One detective actually snorted. The PDF also listed the approving office as Department of Building Compliance, yes, with an I. Within hours, the city cited Marley and the Birch Ridge Board for unauthorized demolition, trespass, and forgery. The contractor avoided prosecution by handing over everything, including ring footage of Marley directing the operator. Take the uppity part that'll teach 'em. My lawyer, Sharon Pearl's the kind of smile that says I win for sport, filed an injunction in a lawsuit thick enough to prop open my front door, suing for damages, distress, loss of use, and a generous dose of punitive. In court, the judge read the parcel map, looked Marley dead in the eye, and asked if she'd really demolished a non-member's permitted home because she disliked stairs. Silence. Marley's attorney tried to claim she thought my house was under her jurisdiction. The judge, not buying it, asked how that belief survived my half-dozen emails. No answer. He asked about the forgery. Marley said she thought it'd expedite things. The judge removed his glasses, rubbed his eyes, and ordered the HOA's insurer to rebuild my house from scratch with a 30% punitive upgrade for the emotional distress of watching your home get eaten by an excavator at dawn. He fined Marley $50,000 and made her pay my legal fees. 6 months later, my new home stood 2 stories, code-perfect solar roof, reinforced quiet room, and yes, a British accented elevator I absolutely did not need, but will never regret. HOA paid for everything down to the espresso machine on my new landing. I got triple pane windows and a smart system NASA would envy. Marley lost the presidency, then her house after the insurer clawed back discretionary expenses, including the demolition, and about $30,000 in community consultation services that were actually spa days. The judge sentenced Marley to 400 hours of community service cataloging stair rails for ADA compliance in the very two-story city hall she once called architecturally arrogant. When the bailiff read her sentence, Marley just stood there, face gone, gray hands shaking, whispering, "This can't be happening." The judge looked right at her and said, "Oh, it absolutely can." So that's how I got a British elevator, a legendary insurance payout, and a permanent spot on the Birch Ridge HOA's Do Not Engage list. Now, my advice: be sure you know where your property lines are and never underestimate the petty ambitions of an HOA president with a binder and time on her hands. Tell me this: do you think she got off easy, or did justice finally show up for work that day? Drop your thoughts below, and if you've ever tangled with an HOA or had your home invaded by compliance zealots, I want to hear every crazy detail. Go on, let's see whose story tops mine.